Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's well. This is part three to Life 101. And today's segment, I'll be talking about friendly fire. Friendly fire. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a war veteran. And that's when I first heard that term years ago when I was in the military. And I could not understand really why they called it friendly fire until it happened while I was serving in the war. And friendly fire is when another military person unintentionally harms another military person, whether it's, when a helicopter goes down and was shot down by another military person. So that's where I initially heard the term from. And so I started using it when I began to do therapy years ago. I used the term friendly fire. And I just want to make sure that I say on the onset that some of the things that I'll be discussing today may be triggering for some people. So if you need to get off or not listen, I totally understand. I just want you to know that I'll be discussing some things that may be triggering for some people. And so friendly fire really is a term that I use within families when I talk to them about things that happen that other family members do. Sometimes it's unintentional, sometimes it is their illness, whether it's drugs, whether it's mental illness, it is a harm that comes to you by another family member. Most of the time, friendly fire is unintentional. They don't know that they're harming you. They are sick with their illness, whatever the illness is. Sometimes it's mental illness. Sometimes it is unresolved issues. Sometimes it is drug abuse. And a lot of times, as family, we think it's them. We call it, Fred. If your name's Fred, I apologize, but you're calling it Fred. You say Fred did whatever, and Fred's on drugs. Fred is not who you used to know prior to the substance abuse. And so when Fred says whatever, it's really his sickness. And I'm not making excuses. Please know when I give these analogies, I'm not excusing the behavior. I'm just explaining the behavior so that you have an understanding when you have friendly fire, and I call it friendly. It's really not. It's just a term, but it comes from within. We least expect it. So you are my brother, but you rob me, or you steal from me, or you sleep with my husband or my wife. It is the fire that comes from within. I don't expect it. I don't have my guards up if we're all sitting at the table, not knowing you're rubbing my husband's leg and you're my cousin. That is friendly fire. It is the most egregious that I can express to anybody, that when you experience friendly fire because your guards are not up for a family member or an in-law. Sometimes it's an in-law. We always think, when I say family, that I'm talking about blood related, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's people that marry within our family. We do not expect the behavior. That is why I call it friendly fire. And so with friendly fire, what I want to really talk about in this segment, not to get you on alert and not to have you suspicious and you sign out everybody, it's not for that reason. It is really to educate you and to arm you. When friendly fire happens, the reason that it impacts us so much is because it's unexpected. I don't expect my parent to turn on me for somebody that they just married or somebody they're dating. I don't expect my sibling to molest me or whatever the act is. I'm using those analogies, but it could be whatever. Where it's unexpected is what I'm getting to. And that is the reason that it impacts us the way that it does, that it is so gut wrenching that this person, we come from the same parents or the same bloodline, and they harm us in this way. That is the reason it hurts us the way that it does. I'm just trying to give you room to understand yourself in this um, segment when I call it friendly fire. The reason that it is friendly fire is because of who it comes from, someone we don't expect within our family or someone that marries in. And then the reason that it impacts us the way that it does and hurts us in this, it's just a gut wrenching way. It's almost like when we see them that it's almost as though they punch us when we find out what they've done because we don't expect it. Hence my way of saying this is the reason it's so difficult to walk into forgiveness, because how could this person that I've known all of my life, or this person that's been in our family all of these years, do what they've done? And I don't have the answer. I guess she said, well, Sonetta, why did you bring it up? I brought it up to educate you and make you aware, but I also brought it up so that you understand that we're human. I don't think anybody intentionally wakes up and say, "You know what? I'm going to go to my cousin's house and I'm going to sleep with her husband." I don't even know of anybody that just wakes up with that thought in their head. Friendly fire is called that because it's not something we expect. It's not something anybody just kind of thinks of in their head, and you say, "Well, how could they do it?" That's another podcast. We're not going to do that one today. I'm just bringing the subject to you to educate you that friendly fire is one of the most egregious, and it takes us some time to begin the healing process because it comes from within. A stranger, for whatever reason, I see it across the board, people are more apt to forgive a stranger who harms them. Why? They don't know them. There's no vested interest there. They did not know me. They did not sit at my table and eat with me. They'd never been to my house. It was a drive-by and they just ran into us and we were in a car accident. They're more, it's just more apt to forgive the person that does not know us. Why? They don't know me. But the person that sat with me, that know my ways, we've eaten together, we've slept in the same home, and you could still do this. That's one of the reasons it's the most difficult to begin the healing process, because they know all these things about us. They slept with our, slept in our homes, they've eaten with us, they've been on family gatherings and outings, and they could still do this act. That is the reason it is so difficult when friendly fire happens. And if you're asking, okay, I understand friendly fire now, what do I need to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it if you're not doing the act. It is the person. Like if you, I'm giving an example, please know it's not anything personal, or not anybody I know. Well, I can give a case and I just can't, no names or anything like that, but I had a case where someone, they had their child in dog cages, and this is probably one of the most egregious cases that I've had. But they had their dog, I mean, I'm sorry, their child, their two children in two different dog cages, and they were doing meth. It was just a horrible case. They were doing meth, and I had to go and interview the mom and ask her, like, I really just had to find out, was the story the report. I got the report. I had to go and ask, as their therapist. I was their therapist, not hers. I eventually came hers. I had to go and ask, I had to interview and say, okay, is this story true? This is what the report that was given to me is that when the police came, the children were in dog cages. So I'm just sitting there as a mom, just listening. I'm still a person. I'm the therapist, but I'm still a person. Like, surely this person's going to tell me that's not true. And, the mom looked at me and said, "Yeah, I had them in dog cages because I did not want them to get out while I did drugs." She didn't want them to just get out and be out in the street while she was doing drugs. And I can't, I just couldn't stare at her like, "Really? So you did this?" I just had to maintain my composure. But I eventually had to make some decisions as it relates to those children. How do you tell the children, your mom put you in dog cages? What your mom, And so we have to have grace for the people that go through these things, but also for the people that do them. I can't understand why she did that. She told me why she did it, but I'm thinking to myself, okay. And if you think to yourself, the egregious act that the people that have harmed you, I'm not saying make room for them that they can be in your life, but some of us, these are our family members. Some of us, we've married people that have brought this kind of friendly fire, and we're still dealing with them. And I'm saying to you, you have to make the decision now that you have a name to it, that it's called friendly fire and it is fire from within. How do I deal with this? And I'm not saying go and divorce people. I'm not saying, don't cut your mom or your dad. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying, how do you understand that you need to be healthy? What do you need to do in order to heal from this friendly fire? It's called friendly fire for a reason. I had a colleague in the military, military, and she lived down the hall from me in the dorms. And it was during the war, and one of the helicopters went down and she died. I did not go with them on the helicopter. It wasn't a far distance. They were going to do something else. And I, I was offered to go and get on, go for the ride in the helicopter to do whatever they were doing. And I did not go. For some reason, if you say, "What's Netta, why didn't you go?" I don't know. I don't know why I did not go, but I did not go. And the helicopter went down and she died. And she lived down the hall from me and our home station. And I always wondered, what did they tell her parents? Because we were in the war, but she did not die as a result of the war. And all I'm saying is, sometimes within friendly fire, people do things to us unintentionally. We're not talking about the ones that do it intentionally. We're talking, I'm already injured as your parent. This is an analogy. And because I'm injured as a parent already, I'm giving you my injuries. I'm giving you my bad behavior. I'm giving you my bad attitude. It's not that I don't love you. I don't know how to love. And I'm not giving excuses. I'm saying we have friendly fire within our families. Some people are doing the best they can based on what they have and who they are. Like my colleague, my military personnel that went down in that helicopter. The people that were on the helicopter with her, they all died. I did not. Nobody meant to die that day. And I'm saying to you, some of our family members do not mean to harm us. They are wounded and they're giving us what they have and who they are. It's friendly fire. We're getting injured though. And we need to learn, what do I need to do? I had to learn. My colleague died. I had to learn, what do I need to do now? First, I had to be careful because I was just, I was very cautious. But I'm saying to you, you know some people that are in your circle, that are in your family, that are close, and they're causing all kinds of fires. They don't mean to hurt you, but they keep hurting you. You need to decide, what am I going to do? I'm not talking about the people that hurt you just one time and they didn't mean to, and that's different. I'm talking about consistent people where they're just starting fires. Every time you see them, they leaving stuff. They leaving things you got to put out fires. Those are the people I'm talking about. That's why it's called friendly fire. They unintentionally do it. Now, you do have those that do it and they mean to. We're not talking about them today. We're talking about the fire that comes from within and they're bringing harm. You need to have a game plan. Every time I see them, I got a fire to put out. You need to set up boundaries and understand, I have to be okay. And if you have family, I'm not talking about you have to be okay for them. I'm talking about you need to be okay for the man in the mirror. And I have children and I have grandchildren now, but I say to myself every day, I have to be okay for me. Because if I'm not okay for me, I will not be okay for anybody that I have in my life. And I love my family. I have, a large extended family. Everybody that knows me know I love my family, but I have to be okay first, me, the man in the mirror. So for those of us who experience friendly fire, I'm not talking about that one time thing. I'm talking about where there's those that every time you see them, they have something and it's impacting you. You have to decide, where do I want to draw the line? What needs to happen for me? I need to put this fire out so that it never impacts me like this again. And so I'm going to end today, and I want to thank you all for listening. Have a great day.